Hello, everybody. Tracy Miss JDog Flanagan with you here today. I'm the co-founder and senior vice president at JDog Brands. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Tactical Treasures podcast, sponsored by the JDog Foundation. Our podcast gives the military community a voice in the veteran space to share stories of service, how they continue to make a difference in civilian life, and they share with me a tactical treasure that has shaped their journey in their military career, business, or life. Today, I am honored to speak with Jimmy Burgess. With a distinguished military background spanning both the Air Force and the Army, Jimmy's foundation was built in the high-pressure environment of the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment. After multiple deployments to Iraq and TDY missions throughout South America, Jimmy brought that same special ops discipline to the civilian sector when he joined the HK9 team in late 2022. As the executive director and specialized service dog trainer, Jimmy oversees the complex process of pairing veterans with life-saving canine partners. He brings a unique first-hand perspective to this work as a disabled veteran himself. His partner, Riley, is a testament to the training Heartland Canine provides, specializing in PTS and anxiety mitigation through sophisticated tasks like post, block, and watch. When he isn't in the training center, Jimmy is a fixture in his local community. He serves as a volunteer firefighter and partners with Peterson Outdoors Ministries to provide therapeutic kayak fishing trips for disabled veterans, ensuring that no one is left behind on the road to recovery. Hello, Jimmy. Welcome to the podcast, and thank you so much for your service to our country,
Thank
sir.
you. Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. We have a lot to discuss today. Although I would like to ask you just a few things about your military
hmm
career. What inspired you to join the Army and then, or the Air Force and then Army?
Well, starting with the Air Force, I had a good friend. His dad was in the Air Force Reserves at the time, too. I was not real sure what I wanted to do. I kind of always had this ambition to be a firefighter. At the time, the Air Force had a spot open to become a firefighter, and so I was going to take it. But then my mom made me wait, so I got a different job in the Air Force. And then I had an opportunity to go TDY a couple of times and got to watch some guys jump out of planes and stuff like that and thought, hey, that's what I want to do. So I switched over. I was very fortunate to do that.
Wow, that's great. Um, is there a particular aspect or moment of your service that kind of stood out as impactful in a positive way for you?
I really believe most of it was very positive and impactful. I had a great opportunity to go and see a lot of different places of the world that most don't get to see or experience. So to have that ability to do that, realize one, how good we have it here, and two, how much a
Mm,
lot of help we really are bringing to this world that doesn't necessarily get talked about, to play a part of that was probably the biggest impacts. Getting to talk with people that live in different places and talk to them about their lifestyles and their trials and tribulations made me recognize that we've got it pretty dang good, and I felt like I had a responsibility to play a part in that.
right, right. That's awesome. After you got out, you transitioned, and I know you're actually a firefighter
Yeah.
now, but you are actually the executive director for Heartland Canines for
Yep, I
Veterans.
am that.
I would love to know kind of how that journey came to be.
Absolutely. So I've obviously got a lot of friends around here that are deep into the veteran community, and I played a good part of the veteran community. And I had a great friend, Ted Donaldson, had told me about Heartland Canines for Veterans, and I was very fortunate to also play a part in the service dog world. I had a service dog, and when the opportunity came to become executive director, I thought I could make a real change and impact, because it's very difficult for veterans to navigate um, all different things, whether it's them needing a ramp for their house or a service dog or extra money to pay bills, whatever the case may be. And this was just the right niche for me. That ability to talk to people and teach them about veterans with service dogs, the whole process, how it works. It was just an easy fix for me. So I've been in this position now for 3.5 years, and I can't think of any other place I'd rather be when it comes to helping
Hmm.
veterans than being able to train service dogs and place them with those veterans that really can utilize them to improve their quality of life.
Yeah. And I also, too, you having a service dog made you the perfect fit for the executive director role. But I know that we spoke before, and sadly, you lost your service dog most recently. And I'm so sorry for your loss. I really
Thank
am.
you.
I know that has to be difficult because her name was
Yep.
Riley. She was a
Yep.
girl. How long did you have her,
I had
Jimmy?
Riley for 3.5 years,
Oh,
and
wow.
from the time she was 10 weeks old, I got to watch her
Mm,
grow up and fill into her position. All the normal things that dogs go through in their progression, we got to do together. For me, it was
mhm,
very rewarding to see the progress of a dog that became a part of me. It wasn't a man and his best friend. It was a man and his
mhm,
teammate, his counterpart to those struggles that we tend to face as veterans, whether we're in public or dealing with people or things we face at night when no one else is around. She was right there to help me navigate a lot of those challenges without judgment, without question, and all she asked in return was my love and respect. And that's what she got every single day, was
mhm.
knowing that she was needed in her role, and she definitely accomplished her mission when it came to that.
I mean, really, she was your soulmate and your lifeline,
Yeah,
right?
obviously, and
Um,
I have a great support system in my wife and my family and my friends that are around here, but there's a different sort of connection that is involved with a veteran and their service dog, because not only is she sounding board, but her job also asked her to do a lot of things like help me navigate simple tasks as easy as going into Walmart or being around crowds, or
mhm,
when I was having anxiety or panic attack, her to be there to be able to provide pressure therapy or that weight on me or let me know someone else was coming up behind me. All of these little things that we don't recognize that happen in our day to day, she was there to work as a
mhm.
prosthetic for.
I know I've read that she was the poster dog for
Absolutely.
HK9 because she was that good at her job. I've read that she was really sophisticated with watch, post, and
That's right.
block. Could you explain those
Yeah,
terms
absolutely.
to me?
Absolutely. So, the watch, we'll start with that one there. So, obviously, we can't see what's going on behind us. So, for her watch
Mm,
position, she would stand next to me, facing back behind me. And if somebody was coming up close to me, she would be able to nudge me to let me know that, hey, someone's coming. And that was
mm,
her watch. Her responsibility was to say, hey, this person might be getting a little close. I don't recognize them. Let's see who it is.
mhm,
The block and the post is basically whether she's in front of me or behind me, creating a distance, a space for people to not necessarily for people not to get close to me. And that
mm.
was done. That's done simply because we all value our personal space, and though
Right.
most of the time that is respected by most people, some of us in certain positions tend to feel like people are going to violate that at every chance they get. So for her to be
Mhm,
able to do that was huge. Probably the biggest thing that helped with her doing that was the fact that I realized people were watching her and not watching me. And
mm,
knowing that the attention was taken off me, and that that's not anything. I felt like everybody was watching me, but I felt like everybody was watching me. And I knew with her there, she kind of took that away, which was great. She was
mhm.
fantastic at it. She knew people were watching her, and she was completely comfortable with just sitting in that moment and saying, I'm watching my veteran right now, let me do my job. So that's what those
Right,
tasks are.
right. Wow. And so when you said you got her ever since she was 10 weeks, was she already trained, or did you go through training with
Yeah,
her?
so the way our program works, and this is for the standard across the board, service training for dogs don't even start until they're at least 10 months old at the earliest. It's so important to
Hmm.
establish the obedience training, teaching them how to be polite,
Right.
how to act in public, how to be around other dogs,
Hmm.
how to be around other people. So when she came in,
Hmm.
my dad had fostered her for a couple of weeks while I was able to get my situation correct at the house. And then she came in, and then it was just straight obedience training. It was teaching her how to sit, how to lay,
Hmm.
how to stay in one spot for a certain amount of time. All those tiny little things that are so important
Hmm.
that every dog should be trained in. She got trained in. And then once she was about 10 months old, that's when the service training really started to begin because dogs need that amount of time before their brains can actually process kind of what's going on. Before
Hmm.
then, it's all just, they just kind of want to please you, they want to do this. But there's this understanding that happens once they get about that age, is when they really start performing their service duties. And then training took about, it never stopped. We're always training, we're always practicing. But as far as, curriculum wise, the blocks that need to be checked for her to be a trained service dog took about 6 months after that. So she was about a year and a half or so before she was actually graduated as a service dog, to where I felt confident, to where the trainer at the time we had felt confident that she could execute her duties while we were in public properly.
Hmm. Hmm. Wow. And dogs just in general, I think, are so intuitive, but again, I guess there's certain dogs that have the attributes, I guess, that would make a good service
That is
dog,
correct.
correct?
Not all dogs. I always kind of, I get a lot of people that reach out that say, "Hey, I have this dog that, is afraid of men, but I think it would be a great service dog." It's like, well, that's half the population. Probably not a good idea.
That's right.
So, we go through a lot
Yeah.
of testing with these dogs before we even bring them into the program. And there's a lot of different breeds of dogs that we use, everything from labs to golden retrievers to Great Danes. One of the big requirements we have for service dogs for us, and I usually kind of use this when I'm talking to other people about service dogs, is they tend to be bigger. We want a dog that's actually going to be able to keep people at a distance, that's actually going to be able to help with mobility stuff. So generally, I would say 98% of the time, if you see Aunt Flo down at the Cracker Barrel feeding her Chihuahua French fries off the table, that's not a real service dog. And
Right.
so it's very
Okay.
specific to breed, and then that individual dog. There's just so many different breeds of dogs, so many different personalities for people. It has to be the right dog for the right person. And that's one of the things we look at when we're
Hmm.
talking to veterans that are looking to come into the program, that they're going to be the right fit for the program. And then it's okay, hey, what kind of dog is it that's going to help them navigate life? It's not just, hey, here's a dog and go. There's a lot of things that go into that process, and people need to understand that.
Right. And so, when veterans apply for your program, I know I went to your website and I know there's a whole application and there's a lot of questions that are asked, and just trying to understand the responsibility on the veteran to
Yeah,
be able
absolutely.
to care for the service dog and to really put the time in and the training. Um, do you try to do a match, like between the actual person and the dog, to ensure that they're a good fit?
Absolutely. We want the veterans that get accepted in our program to be full on part of the program, being a part of the training, being involved in the training process, being around their possible dog as much as possible, and
Hmm.
seeing if that fit is correct.
Okay.
And there's been times where it just didn't either work for the dog, or it didn't work for the veteran,
Hmm.
or it didn't work for Heartland. Our responsibility is to make sure these dogs are going to be put in a safe environment,
Hmm.
that they're going to be cared for and loved, and not out backyard on a fence somewhere all the time. A lot of people want a service dog until they realize how much
Hmm.
responsibility comes with said service dog.
Right.
And I think that's one of the things with the loss of Riley here recently. is something that I kind of talked about in one of my Facebook posts, that I don't want my grief to be a deterrent for veterans to apply, but I want them to recognize that with this much love and responsibility comes with that much loss and grief when something does happen. And
Right.
there's a lot to that. And it's so important that we recognize that you're going to be receiving a living, breathing creature that requires love and attention and time and patience and respect. And we train that in the dogs, and it's also important that we train that in the veterans.
Hmm.
When I see a lot of people make posts like, well, you can just train your own dog to be a service dog. With Heartland Canines, it's much
Right.
more than just, hey, here's a dog. We want to help veterans learn to re-engage and re-navigate in life. And a dog cannot fill all of those blocks that need for that to happen. So you can have a really well-trained dog, but it doesn't necessarily create um, a course correction on what that veteran might be navigating or dealing with. So we
Mhm.
also have a very good support system. We're here, we talk to the veterans. When a problem comes up, we're there to help. We're there to help each other. We're here to teach that next veteran that comes through with a service dog how to, you know, navigate a conversation in public when someone says something like, well, that's not a service dog, or is that a service dog? Because you get that all the time. We get people all the
Mhm.
time that are constantly, Riley was probably the best trained dog I've ever seen in public. And I'd have people just come out of left field trying to tell me that they knew exactly what my dog needed and what it should be doing. And for a veteran dealing with PTSD and anxiety, that's probably a terrible answer. The whole idea
Yes.
that I have her is to prevent a lot of, you know, engaging with the public. And, for me, in our education side, when I talk to organizations and I talk to people, there's so many ways you can talk to somebody that shows a little bit of respect. If I've been in places where I've talked to that security guard that comes up all abrasive, and I'm like, why don't you just say, "Hey, man, that's a really pretty dog. What does she do for you?" Just have a conversation with me,
Right.
And I think a lot of people have forgotten their humanity on so many things, and I feel us, and especially me in my position, I have a responsibility to more than educate about service dogs, but it's to remind us how to be humans to each other. There just happens to be a dog in the picture.
Hello, viewers and listeners. The JDog Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit whose mission is to prevent veteran suicide and heal veterans' mental health and PTS. 100% of all proceeds goes directly to the organizations we are partnered with. If you go to jdogfoundation.org, you can learn more about our mission, donate, and if you are in need of help, please dial 988. Our motto, saving lives one veteran at a time. Check us out, jdogfoundation.org. And I imagine too that it's kind of like almost training the veteran too, or teaching the veteran of
Absolutely. And it's
yeah,
much harder to train the veteran than it is to train the dog. I promise
right.
you that.
Jimmy, just one more question before I want to hear more about Riley. When you're dealing with dogs,
Mhm.
do you take them as puppies and train them to be service dogs, or do you take dogs that are maybe a year old and then turn them into service dogs? How does that work with your organization?
Well, it really kind of varies depending on timeline. There's so many variables that go into the dogs that we do receive for the program. We work with a lot of local breeders.
Mm,
99.9% of the dogs that we receive are all AKC registered, come from breeders that we recognize and know because we realize this gift needs to be comes from a place of good health, comes from a place of good lineage, comes from a place of safety where these dogs weren't just found under the 43, 44 overpass. So we don't,
mm,
so we like to know that these dogs don't have any past
mhm.
trauma,
Right.
that that they can come into the program with a clean slate. So it's very important that the dogs that we receive, sometimes we've gotten them at, like 10 weeks, like Riley, and other times we've gotten them at a year and a half. As long as we know where their history and where they came from, that's really more what is dependent on where they came from as compared to how old they are.
Okay, that makes sense. I understand
Mhm.
that completely. Um,
Absolutely.
so, I understand you're doing really special, something special to honor Riley.
Yeah.
Um, could you tell me about that?
Yeah. So she's, I can't really put into words how special of a dog she was and how much of an impact she had on way more than just me and my family. When you said that she's the face of the Heartland Canines, she exactly was. I mean, it can't be me. I've got the face of a foot model, but she was the face of Heartland. She was the example, and she impacted a lot of people. So on Wednesday, we're doing uh, this, what is it called, of life, celebration of life for
Mhm,
Riley, out at the out at our farm out there. We've got a whole bunch of dogs that are out there who are all in the grieving process as well, missing her in
mhm,
one way or another. And so we're having people are all invited to come out and tell stories about how Riley affected them. Give me a chance to be able to um, vocalize what she really meant to me and
mhm,
to this program and to my family and to the other dogs we have at the house. And then we're also going to, so I've been doing a thing called the Heartland Podcast, a
mhm,
little play on words there,
mhm.
where she's the host of it. And
Oh,
so we're also going to be continuing the Heartland Podcast with her as the host, to continue doing what she's always done, which is lead from the front, which is
mhm,
to train and teach others about service dogs and what their mission is and what they do. And our first episode that we're going to do with her is we've got another dog, another golden out there named Tex, and he's a golden. He's about to graduate here in a couple of months.
mhm.
But she's going to be teaching him about grief.
Oh,
And she's going to be teaching him, um, that there's a lot of responsibility that comes along with this whole process, and how important it is for Tex to continue mission because
mhm,
he's there to help another veteran. It's important. It's important that she continues her legacy through her through her podcast and through everything that we do here at Heartland. That mission doesn't stop. There's a lot of veterans out there that do need help, and that's one thing Riley and I had worked very closely on doing. It's called the SIT program, which is Suicide Intervention Training,
mhm,
and her responsibility was to keep me redirected to her if I got into a dark place
mhm,
and to be able to teach other dogs that task. Obviously, that final decision is the final decision if somebody makes it, but
mhm.
that's our way of doing everything we can to prevent that. And I had to go into some of the darkest, deepest, darkest places I've ever had to go into to do that training with her because it takes a lot out of me and it took
Mhm.
a lot out of her. But I think of the friends and some of the guys that I served with that did make that final decision, and to know that she was helping to teach people and other dogs what, what they have to offer and how they can do that is it will continue to be her mission, her drive. So,
I would ask, if you don't mind me asking this, do you look for another service dog?
um,
You probably,
I've had a few people that kind of asked me that question that have kind of hinted towards it. What's the process going to look like? Nothing. There'll never be another Riley. I recognize that. I think everybody
yeah,
recognizes that. And
of course.
I think when people ask me that question, they're not asking in a, hey, you need to replace Riley. I think a lot of it always comes from the good place of we see how much Riley helped you and we love you and we want you to continue to be successful. Will there be that opportunity for another dog to kind of um, be there. And right now, I don't know. I feel like it's yeah, I don't know if it's that it's too soon. I think it's just still so raw
Hmm.
that we've got my wife and I have a couple of Pomeranians at the house, Honey and Biscuit, and they're fantastic both in their own right. One loves to eat, and one loves to fish, so they're both after my own heart. And then we've
Oh.
got we've got two new golden doodles at the house too, and one's named Travis, which we're training to go with a veteran. They're still really really young, so a lot of it is still just that all obedience training and use of stuff. And the other one that we had got ourselves for my wife and I named Winnie, and Winnie, obviously when we were thinking Riley was here. Winnie was going to be trained as a therapy dog, but there is that possibility that I feel that Winnie has, kind of threw her hat into the ring and said, "Hey, I got you, Dad." So,
Mm.
that may be a possibility. And right now, it's just giving them the love and attention that they deserve. We've got a couple other dogs at the house that I'm training right now. Plus, we have our three outside dogs, Mosby, Minerva, and they just love being out there and hanging out and stuff. So right now I'm just kind of pouring my love and attention into them and to training the other dogs. And if it comes up, it comes up. I think I'll know it when it's right. I think I'll know when I'm ready. And right now, that's that's a hard question to answer because I
Sure.
still can't stand and have my hand down without still feeling Riley's head right there, or
Mm.
when I get up in the morning feeling her cold nose touching my hand saying, "Come on, Dad, Dad, let's go." She was a wonderful, wonderful partner. When her vest was off, she was a normal golden retriever. She loved to run her zoomies and play with the balls and be outside and running around and acting crazy. Matter of fact, my wife would always say, "Hey, can we just keep her in the vest all the time?" Just kind of
Mhm.
joking around because she was so wild. She just thought she was a giant Pomeranian is about what she thought it was in the house. So
Oh.
knowing that void's still there, I don't have an
Hmm.
answer. Long
Yeah.
story short.
Well, well, you know what? I I believe that Riley will guide someone,
I do too.
some new dog to you,
I do too.
who's supposed to take over her role. I believe that.
Yeah, and I was fortunate enough, the veterinarian let us bring Riley back out to the farm, and we buried her out there by the training area, and I built her a little fenced in area, and so I planted that rose bush out there for her so everybody knows she's a girl. But I've seen little things in these dogs already that recognize the fact that she's still out there. Seen Tex roll over balls and, act like a golden out there, and Mosby has laid out there by her in the shade, and Minerva's laid out there by her in the shade, and
Oh.
I know she's still present out there. They know she's still present. So if that day does
Mhm.
come up, she will let us know, I promise you.
I'm kind of speechless, Jimmy. I do have one other question to ask you, if I could. Do you have a tactical treasure that you'd like to share with us, something that has helped you through your journey? And
Yeah.
I think I may already know what it is, but I'd love to hear you share it.
I could grab that low-hanging fruit and say it's Riley, but I think she would appreciate and value the answer of the program itself, Heartland Canines for Veterans. The amount of family members and veterans I've had that have come up to me and say, "Thank you for giving me my husband back," or "Thank you for giving me my daughter back." Um, I think Riley would feel it would be selfish to put that just on her, that it's the collective, it's the community of those of us with service dogs, it's the community of those of us that support our program and come to events and listen when we're teaching and have questions when they want to know more about the program. um, all of it, it's the whole picture. And that's one thing I had to realize, that Riley was more than just mine. She was and is Heartland Canines for Veterans, and that will forever be my answer of how it is. There's many ways out there to help veterans, and if there's a veteran that's listening that's struggling, maybe a service dog is the answer. But maybe it's just that need to go fishing, or like I said, have a ramp built at their house. But for me, my piece of all of this, my giving back, my tactical treasure is Heartland Canines for Veterans and what this program does for veterans like me who struggle.
That's amazing. That's a great tactical treasure, Jimmy. I love how you're preserving the legacy of Riley and, the celebration of her life. Um, that's Wednesday, April 1st. And
That's
I
correct.
think that that's amazing. Um, would you have any other word of advice for veterans struggling?
There are resources out there. I still talk to veterans every day that don't recognize how many programs, how many different organizations there are separate from the
Hmm.
VA that can provide an answer or can provide some kind of help or at least provide them guidance for the direction that they're looking to go. And I implore all veteran organizations and nonprofits to learn to work well with each other, that it's much more than just money. It's much more than just visibility. It's that true
Hmm.
core need to help each other, and it is out there. So, and that only happens by us sharing each
Hmm.
other's word. That only happens by us not hoarding the conversation, by saying, there's things out there more important than that next quarterly number. It's how many veterans have we talked to? It's how many answers have we been able to give on questions that are put our way that don't directly impact the organization specific
Hmm.
we're with, and it's
Yeah,
important.
that's great advice. Great advice. There are so many resources out there. And wouldn't it be amazing if everybody could learn to work together, you know? Yeah,
Amazing. Yeah, it is
yes, it
possible.
is, truly. Um, Jimmy, I really appreciate you coming on and being so vulnerable and sharing, everything that you did. It's been a tough couple of days for you, and I know it will continue to be for a while. But I thank you
Yeah.
so much
Well, thank you for
for
having
sharing your
me.
heart and helping us to get to know how wonderful Riley was, and the great work
Thank you.
that she does or did, and how her legacy will live on even um, moving forward without her. Um, Before you go, could you share with us where people can find and connect with you, and where they can find out more information on HK9?
Absolutely. Our website is heartlandcanines.org, and that's the letter K, the number 9, and the letter S, heartlandcanines.org. We're on Facebook. That's the
Mhm.
social media we use. On there, you can see Riley's journey and all the other journeys of the other service dogs and veterans that are in our program or have come through our program. And that's probably the best place to find us is one of those two
Great.
locations.
And you have a contact form that people can reach out on the
We do.
website if they're interested in going the service dog route.
That is correct. They can go around there, do a request for info, and then generally the process is they receive a call from one of our representatives, whether it's me or one of the other board members. And then there's a very extensive application process. We feel that's important as a 501c3. Everything that we receive is given to us out of the kindness of people's
Hmm.
hearts. So we feel we have a responsibility to make sure that the people that are accepted into our program are definitely those that are in deserve of such an amazing gift, of such an amazing life-changing opportunity to again re-engage your life.
Truly, truly. Um, yeah, our canines are absolutely amazing. I'm a dog lover myself, and we had a boxer who grew up with our family, and they truly become family members. And when she
Absolutely.
went, that was. That was really tough, and I had no idea how devastating that was. My heart ached so much,
Yeah,
um, and they're just amazing, amazing animals, truly intuitive, and
agree.
they connect uh, with their family in such a way like nothing else. It is truly amazing, and they've done so much for our veterans.
I
So
agree.
thank you for Riley and the blessing that she was to your life.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for listening to our story, and that it
Yes,
continues.
yes. God bless you, Jimmy. Thank you so much.
You-
Hello, viewers and listeners. Thank you so much for tuning into this very emotional Tactical Treasures podcast, where we've just finished up a conversation with Jimmy Burgess, who is an Air Force and Army veteran who is now the executive director and specialized service dog trainer at Heartland Canines for Veterans. At Heartland Canine for Veterans, they believe our nation's warriors deserve more than just support. They deserve a partner that helps them thrive. As an IRS recognized 501c3 nonprofit, HK9 is driven by a single, unwavering goal, making the world a better place for those who served. But they don't just pair dogs, they build highly skilled, capable teams. What makes their approach different? They know that the bond between a veteran and a canine is life changing, so HK9 ensures the right canine is paired with the right person. Their process is built on data driven success, where decisions are informed by comprehensive empirical studies and high quality data evaluation, proven strategies where they use elite training techniques to ensure every canine is ready for their mission, productive relationships where they prioritize the long term bond, ensuring every pair is set up for success from day one. HK9 is achieving more with their initiatives than ever before. Join them in promoting positive change. Learn more about what they do, who they help, and how you can support the mission. Go to heartlandcanines.org. And that's Heartland, HEARTLAND, K, the number 9s.org. Thank you for tuning in. And don't forget, you can find Tactical Treasures podcast on all your favorite podcast platforms, American Grit, and our website, tacticaltreasurespodcast.com, as well as our dedicated YouTube channel. We are now airing on Reese Across America Radio on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern and Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern for the encore. You can also find Reese Across America Radio on the iHeartRadio app, the Odyssey app, and the TuneIn app. We're also proud to share that our JDog Foundation is a Reese Across America sponsorship group. For each $17 Veterans Wreath that you sponsor, $5 goes directly back to the JDog Foundation, whose mission is to prevent veteran suicide and heal veterans' mental health and PTS. You can donate right now at reacheacrossamerica.org/JDog. Again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you again on another podcast real soon. Bye-bye now.